down, boy. You must be Doc Hollyday. You retired too?
Tear you apart.
You die first, get it? All right, let's do it. Say when.
What do you think about a Western film? Shooting scene between cowboys. Of course. That's a mandatory menu in this genre of film. What's a Western film without a shooting scene? Heroic cowboys exterminating a band of bandits is a common thing presented in Western-themed films. Tombstone is a film that shows that. With a good script, and supported by the neat performances of the players, such as Kurt Russell, Val Kilmer, Power Booth, Michael Biehn, and Sam Elliott, making Tombstone a Western film that has its own charm. But, unfortunately with these elements, director George P. Cosmatos couldn't make Tombstone a special film. The tension is not built well, the narrative and drama are poorly paced. The moves from exposition to romance to action scenes are rushed. Some pre-climaxes do not reach climax. However, despite these shortcomings, Tombstone succeeds in presenting action scenes that look great. And once again, the cast's brilliant acting performances are worthy of praise. Especially, Val Kilmer's performance makes me really like this film. Val Kilmer's acting is stunning in playing Doc Hollyday, a figure who is weak, pale, coughing, due to his tuberculosis, but has the charm of a skilled shooter. This film seems to be Val Kilmer's stage in showing his acting skills as an actor. No other actor has ever played Doc Hollyday as well as Val Kilmer.
But if to live, the feud.
Tombstone tells a piece of Wyatt Earp's life journey and his friendship with Doc Holliday, where the two of them were involved in a feud with the Cowboys, which ended in a shootout at the OK Corral. In this film, Wyatt Earp is depicted as a charismatic, heroic, noble, and caring figure, a former law enforcer with a brilliant reputation. Just so you know, in reality, the real Wyatt Earp did several bad things, such as like stealing horses, escaping from prison, and committing adultery. However, his figure seems to be more often depicted as a good, noble, a heroic cowboy who does not hesitate to break the law to uphold justice. Played charmingly by Kurt Russell, making us sympathize with this character.
So run, you turd. Hell's coming with me!
The film begins with a group of bandits wearing red sashes, who call themselves the Cowboys, entering Mexico City. The arrival of the bandits is to avenge the death of two members of their group. They come to a church that has just held a wedding ceremony. Bill Brocious, or better known as the Curly Bill, the leaders of the bandit group, immediately approaches the groom, who is a Mexican policeman, who has killed two members of the Cowboys. He shoots the Mexican policeman dead. A priest, who has just married the dead Mexican policeman, swears, condemning the abomination. Johnny Ringo, frontman of the Cowboys, coldly shoots him. The film scene then switches, showing Wyatt Earp, a famous and highly respected former Kansas lawman, getting off a train arriving at Arizona Station. A local marshal approaches him. As if he knows that the marshal will offer him a job as a law enforcer, Wyatt quickly rejects it. He says that he has retired as a law enforcer and now is the time he wants to enjoy life. Not long after, at the station, Morgan and Virgil, Wyatt Earp's two brothers, also arrive. The two arrive in Arizona with their wives. Wyatt greets his two brothers happily. After introducing each other's wives, they go together to Tombstone, a small town in Arizona, which was growing, and was becoming a favorite for travelers and traders. Arriving in Tombstone, Wyatt is greeted by a sheriff named John Biehn. Wyatt also meets Fred White, marshal of Tombstone. The marshal explains clearly to Wyatt about Tombstone that, in Tombstone, law enforcers like Sheriff Bean and himself are not really law enforcers. He says Tombstone is currently controlled by the Cowboys. They are the law in Tombstone. Wyatt doesn't care about that. He is more interested in a saloon called the Oriental. Wyatt thinks he may be able to turn the place into a business to make money while in Tombstone. In Tombstone, Wyatt Earp also meets Doc Holliday, his old friend, a gambler, a person with tuberculosis, but has the ability to shoot very skillfully and quickly. Wyatt Earp looks happy to see Doc again. Likewise Doc. He also seems happy to see Wyatt again. He greets Wyatt, as well as Virgil and Morgan. While Wyatt is still chatting with Doc, a carriage carrying a troupe of drama actors arrives, stopping on the hot and dusty streets of Tombstone. Wyatt is stunned when he sees a woman gets off the train. He is captivated and secretly feel in love. The woman's name is Josephine, the main actress of the drama troupe. Wyatt becomes even more fascinated when he watches Josephine performs a play at a bar that night, but he tries to hide his attraction to her, to protect the feelings of Maddie, his wife. Wyatt and Maddie's relationship itself is not going well, after his wife becomes addicted to laudanum, to overcome the headaches she often suffers from. Wyatt tries to advise her to leave the drug. He tries to show a warm attitude as a husband, but Maddie seems to prefer the drug. She is drowning in her addiction. Wyatt Earp succeeds in turning the Oriental Saloon into a crowded casino. He manages it with Morgan and Virgil to make money, which he may be able to take with him when the time came for him to leave Tombstone. However, visitors to the casino are not the only ones who want to try their luck at the gambling tables. The Cowboys also visit the place. Curly Bill, leader of the Cowboys, warns Wyatt that Tombstone is not a city for law enforcement like Wyatt to live in. He laughs scornfully when Wyatt says that he has retired as a law enforcer, and he is just doing business in Tombstone. Meanwhile, Johnny Ringo, who calls himself the fastest shooter, is more interested in directing his attention to Doc Holliday, who is also present at that place, accompanying Wyatt. Coldly, he greets Doc. When Doc don't take it seriously, he puts on a show, showing off his ability to spin the gun with his fingers, in very fast movements. Everyone in the casino is amazed. But, Doc Holliday, he doesn't seem impressed by the stunt. Calmly, he responds to Johnny Ringo's action, by spinning the cup he is holding, making everyone laugh, including Wyatt. Johnny Ringo may not realize that Doc's funny action is an illusion, that everyone can spin a gun with their hands, but to prove who is the fastest at shooting, it must be through a duel, and that may happen soon. One night, Curly Bill suddenly acts up. In a drunken state, he points his gun at everyone, shooting randomly, making people run in fear. Marshal Fred White is forced to act. He comes out to Bill and asks the Cowboys frontman to hand over his guns. Bill pretends to obey Marshal Fred's request, hands guns in his hand to Marshal Fred. When Marshal Fred is about to take them, Curly Bill fire one of his pistols, causing Marshal Fred to be shot and killed. Wyatt Earp does the necessary spontaneous action. He hits Curly Bill with the butt of a gun, causing that man to fall unconscious. Several members of the Cowboys try to free him, but Wyatt Earp quickly asks them all to retreat and step back. Morgan, Virgil, and Doc also pressure several members of the Cowboys until they finally leave town. The Cowboys turns out to have an influence. By bribing the judge in court, they succeed in acquitting Curly Bill of murder charges.
Now Spicer leans forward and you know, boys, when we're finally set, you know?
After the incident, Virgil and Morgan accept the offer to wear the badge as lawmen, replacing the fallen Marshal Fred White. Wyatt Earp is disappointed and angry with his two brothers. He thinks Virgil and Morgan are too reckless, accepting assignments as law enforcers in Tombstone. Wyatt reminds them that he invited Virgil and Morgan to Tombstone to do business, not to get involved in other problems that can threaten their safety. As much as possible they should avoid clashes with the Cowboys. But, Virgil insists that Tombstone needs laws to be followed. Meanwhile, members of the Cowboys don't stop acting up. The next night, one of their members, Ike, causes a disturbance at the casino run by the Earp brothers. He gets into an argument with Doc Holliday at the gambling table. To show his authority as the new law enforcer in Tombstone, Virgil hits that man in the head with the butt of the gun, causing him to fall unconscious. He confiscates Ike's pistol and rifle, and locks the Cowboys member in the city jail. The next day, several members of the Cowboys come to free him. They leave, leaving behind a threat to the Earp brothers that war will soon come. With the help of Doc Holliday, Wyatt finally takes part in duties as a law enforcer, helping Virgil and Morgan, and meeting several members of the Cowboys, who are still in Tombstone. Wyatt asks the bandits to hand over their guns and leave Tombstone, but they refuse. A shootout is inevitable. The members of the Cowboys are killed. Only one of their members, named Ike, manages to escape.
Starts with you. All right.
Say wham.
Feuds with members of the Cowboys, ultimately creating a nightmare for Wyatt Earp. Several snipers, members of the Cowboys, skulk around the corners of the city of Tombstone at night, when Tombstone is hit by lightning and thunder. They are after Wyatt Earp, Virgil and Morgan. They manage to shoot Virgil and Morgan, causing Virgil to lose his left arm, while Morgan is shot in the chest, so his life cannot be saved. Wyatt Earp's anger explodes. His instincts as a former law enforcer rises. He wears a Marshall Tombstone badge. With the help of Doc Holliday and 3 members of the Cowboys, who state that they have left the Cowboys, Wyatt moves, hunting down the group of red-slung bandits. Finish them off one by one, including their leader, Curly Bill. However, Wyatt's efforts to eradicate the Cowboys to the end are not easy. He has to face Joni Ringo, the frontman of the Cowboys, who is said to have the ability to shoot very quickly. When Joni Ringo sends a message challenging him to a guns duel, Wyatt is not sure he will be able to win the duel. The only person who is able to face Joni Ringo is Doc Holliday, who is also an accomplished shooter, but Wyatt is pessimistic that Doc will be able to continue to help him, because his TB disease is getting worse. During his efforts to eradicate the Cowboys, Doc suddenly faints, forcing Wyatt to leave him at a farmer's house. Wyatt briefly accompanies his friend. He talks about Johnny Ringo, who he will face. In his serious illness, Doc says that people like Joni Ringo are people full of revenge, and always thirsty for blood. Before Wyatt leaves to fulfill the duel challenge, Doc expresses his interest in the Marshall badge that Wyatt is wearing. With a smile, Wyatt leaves the badge for his friend. Realizing that Wyatt will not be able to win the duel against Joni Ringo, Doc Holliday then meets the frontman of the Cowboys, who is waiting near an oak tree in a small forest in the Silver Springs Canyon. Doc challenges him to a duel. Doc says he is a worthy opponent for the duel. He mentions the attractions carried out by the bandit leader at the casino. Doc thinks it was a matter that must be resolved. And, this time, he will do it legally. Doc shows the Marshall's badge he's wearing. Joni Ringo is afraid. He looks tense and pale, but he can't help but accept the challenge to the duel. Joni Ringo may claim he is the fastest, but the opponent he faces is Doc Holliday, who has the ability to shoot faster. The frontman of the Cowboys dies after Doc Holliday's pistol bullet hits his forehead. After Joni Ringo's death, Wyatt Earp easily eradicates the remaining members of the Cowboys. After helping Wyatt Earp defeat the Cowboys, Doc Holliday's condition gets worse. He feels that death will soon come to him. Wyatt tries to accompany and comfort his friend, but Doc asks Wyatt to leave him alone to await his death. He doesn't want to be an obstacle in Wyatt's life. As a friend, he asks Wyatt to achieve his dream. chase the woman named Josephine, and live a happy life with that woman. With a heavy heart, Wyatt left his best friend. He goes to see Josephine and expresses his love for her. Josephine greets Wyatt happily. The two then live their lives together, in joys and sorrows.